Hey everyone, welcome back to Orr Sawmills Timber Tales. So we got a big old white pine on the mill today. This one was one that I cut down myself in October of the previous year. So the reason why we have some blue stain coloring in the outer inch or two of this log is because it was summer cut pine. If this log was a winter cut pine, we wouldn't have any issues with any discoloration further in the lumber. We also have slight insect damage in the first 2 to 3 inches of this log because it was summer cut. If it was winter cut, the bugs would have been less likely to lay eggs under the bark and create a place to live. But the only time to cut these trees down was the summer because it was a house slot clearing. So we're getting them sawn up now. It took a little while to get to them. This log was 16 feet long. We kept them long just to bring them home back to the mill. And then once we got them back to the mill, we finally cut them in half here just before we use them. I try not to cut them too soon because the ends will dry out, and then the lower quality lumber will show up just because the ends will dry out and you'll have a shorter log than you thought you had to begin with. So most of the logs that I cut for 8 foot or 8 foot 4 or 8 foot 5 inches, that's just because in my kiln I can only fit 8 foot 6. If you stack it perfectly straight up and down, I can fit 2 bunks of 8 foot 6 tight together. So I like to keep them a little under because most of the time we can't fit 8 foot 6 just because we don't stack perfectly on the ends. It's hard to do, and sometimes the log has a little taper to it, and so the boards end up being a little longer anyways. So all we're doing here is trying to open up this log. I'm trying to decide which side I want to take the 2x4s off of. From right now, I'm not sure yet. I'm just trying to get some of the big slabs off. There's a lot of wood in this tree that probably scales out at about 420 board feet roughly for this log. It's a big old log. So we're just basically cutting off all the bark, trying to see what I want to do with it. There might be a little bit of waste just because I'm not sure what I want to do with it, so I'm not going into it with a plan on where to get my 2x4s out of, just because there's so much extra material on the outer part of this log. I just want to get it cut down so it fits easily through the mill head, and then so that I'm not taking huge cuts so that I'm bogging down the saw, because if I take too big of a cut and my travel speed's too fast, I'll bog down the saw and you end up spending more time sawing less boards. So it's nicer to get the cant into a smaller width just so that we can saw a little bit faster right off the bat. If we don't saw fast, we're not making money. So we want to be as fast and efficient as possible, and the best way is trying to split this down into a couple manageable cants just because of the size of this cant. Right now it's, I believe, a 24 by 24 inch cant, maybe even a little bigger. This thing is heavy as heck. It's just a big tree. And then with it being summer cut, all the water was still in it. So all the boards are heavier than a normal winter cut pine. And then everything is just takes a little bit longer. The lubricant takes a little bit longer to get on the blade and help get that pitch off. On winter cut pine, that lubricant isn't as necessary because the pitch doesn't get stuck on the blade as bad. So winter cut and summer cut pine, there's a huge difference. So right now we're just trying to stand up all the pieces I sliced off for 2x4s. These 2x4s are going to be an eighth over dimensional, These will be planed down and used for interior use. So half of them will get graded out. They won't work for this customer, but the other half will be used for like furniture grade type stuff, trim, or just anything interior. So all this is going to go in the kiln the minute we're done with this log. We'll shove it in the kiln, get it drying because we got to get it done for the next order. I forgot to slide the big old cant out of the way, so I couldn't finish my cut. So this video is sped up on 3x just so everyone knows. This isn't how fast it saws, but I just wanted to speed this up for you guys so you guys can see basically the process of breaking down a big white pine log into 2x4s. So typically, if I know the centers aren't going to be nice, which almost on any log you'll saw the centers aren't good, I would cut around that and get the 2x4s out of the outside lumber, because the outside lumber is going to have all your clear and knot free lumber, but the centers are all knots, and obviously the core of the tree, which is the most defected part of the tree. But for just sake of efficiency and being fast, we just basically saw the whole log into 2x4s, and then I just sell the lower quality 2x4s as discount, and at least then somebody can use them and save a little money on their projects. It'll be kiln dried so they can use it on some interior projects if they want, but they can't use them on structural jobs because they won't be able to pass, because I don't have certifications for interior or stud walls. I mean, you can use it interior, but it cannot be used for structural. So, for example, if you were building a shed, you can't buy the wood basically from me and then build it. You'd have to bring me logs. I'll saw you 2x4s, and then you can build it. Because once it leaves my place, I have no say on what it can be used for, but I can't sell it to resell it basically. So if I sell it to you and you want to sell it to somebody else, that's not how that can be used. You can only use it firsthand, or I saw it up for you and you can use it for whatever you want. That's just some of the rules they have for using your own lumber, and I agree with that, because certain lumber should be stamped and certified for structural strength, and each species has a different structural strength. So white pine is one of the lower end structural strength quality pine species around here. So I agree with what they're doing, because otherwise people would have boards breaking and their house wouldn't be up to standards. So everything should be certified and stamped and gone through and graded. So when I'm making stuff for furniture, that doesn't matter. Or interior use that's not structural, then I can sell it how I want. But when it comes to sawing 2x4s and 6s for structural, for like homes, then we don't go that route. So here we're going to be taking all the edgings off these big old slabs. These slabs are around 26 inches right now. So what we do is we trim off all the nasty dirty bark. The first cut, I just want to get it cut off, so sometimes I cut off a little bit too much, but again, speed is the whole reason we're doing this. We want to be fast because a 2x4 isn't worth very much. So the quicker we can saw these, the quicker we can make a little money. It takes a lot of time to saw 2x4s, and the only benefit of having these bigger logs is you can get a few hundred out of a couple logs. This log here is probably going to yield 90, almost 110, probably 2x4s. So there's a little bit of money to be made, but it's also little time consuming because you got to touch every board with of the 2x4s and pull them out of the way. On the 1-inch lumber, this head can pull it back onto the table and I can keep sawing. But basically every time I make cuts with this, I have to stop and interrupt my process just because I'm trying to not get anything to fall down in by the saw like that piece just did before. And then if I'm pulling it back, the fingers are spaced out far enough that the 2x4s will go between it and then they'll actually catch on the blade and push the blade off. So we can't use the pullback on this head when we're making 2x4s, so it's kind of a little bit more time consuming, but as long as you can make them fast, it's well worth it. And you just got to be careful with when you're sawing stuff like this, when all those boards and stuff fall off, you got to make sure they don't fall into a spot where they're going to get stuck like the one I just kicked out did. That can cause a problem. So we're basically almost done with this entire first half of the log. There's still a whole nother half in the jacket lumber. This log's yielding quite well for a white pine. The quality is all right in these boards. There's actually a fair bunch of knots, but the quality is all right. So we're trying to get clear as possible, but it's hard to do that. So I'm going to show you here where we're stacking it all up. We use stickers right away. We get it stacked. One end's flush, so the far end here is the flush end of the pile. So if I do have to cut an end off, I always try to put the boards dirty on one end. As you see, I spun it around with the tapered boards. So if the log was cut too long and we stacked all the lumber up, and then I got to put it in the kiln and it's too long, then I got to cut the whole end of the pile off with the chainsaw. So if you put all the dirty ends towards one way, then when you cut it off, you're actually making the board nicer instead of worse. And then sometimes you can make a board go from not making grade to at least cleaning up nicely. So from that one log we got, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers by 12. So we got 62 2x4s already out of that log. It was about 33, 34 inches in diameter, 8 feet long. And then this from that log, except for 3 slabs, 4 slabs from another log, but there wasn't much waste on that log so far. We still have another probably 45, 46 2x4s to get out of this cant that's left. So we got a big log. So there's over 100 boards in that one tree, which is pretty crazy to think that one tree can have that many 2x4s in it, or one log. That whole pile is only 4 logs, but 2 of them were from this. So we had probably over 250 2x4s from one singular 16-foot log, but we cut it down to 8 foot and yielded 2x4s. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.